Coats of the Round Table.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to White Coats of the Round Table. My name's Mike Asbeck, and I'm here again with John McDonald. Still can't get rid of him.
What's up, guys?
So, John, I'm very excited. We've got an awesome guest, and I know you made me promise that we keep it a mystery guest because you want to, I guess, tease it with your intro, since these intros are becoming somewhat famous.
It's the only thing that gives me any sort of latitude and leverage over you, so we'll keep it going.
There's only a few things in life that bring you joy. I can't take it away from you. All right. Well, without further ado, John, give us the intro for our mystery guest.
Okay, so hailing from the poultry capital of the world, our guest stayed true to Gainesville, Georgia, only stepping out for a few minutes to pay homage to Duke University, where she completed her residency and fellowship in neurosurgery. Upon returning from the Tar Heel State, wink, wink, she immediately got to work in her hometown community, working alongside a very special neurosurgeon and mentor. But for now, she prefers minimally invasive spinal procedures, although she's looking forward to implanting Neuralink submeningeal devices on behalf of Daddy Elon. She really does enjoy acute surgery to manage her TBIs and spinal cord patients. She's been named top doctor of 2022 in the Atlanta, and then top doctor 20, 21, and 22 in Georgia Trend, and many 40 under 40 accolades. So today we have Dr. Betsy Grunch with us. Thanks for stirring the pot with us tonight. Mike, was that all right? Do you think I explained enough?
I think pretty good, but Dr. Grunch, do you want to add anything or maybe expand on the poultry capital? I mean, I know that's an important part of your background.
Yeah, no, I am from Gainesville, Georgia, and indeed, we are the poultry capital of the world, and we actually drop a chicken on New Year's Eve, so that's in a few weeks.
See, this is why we do this. The new things. I came in expecting to learn neurosurgery, and instead I learn about chicken drops on New Year's Eve. It's great.
Drop a chicken.
That's right.
I guess it depends on how high up we're dropping.
Not like a real chicken. Yeah, it's not like real. Yeah, so like people, Times Square drops the ball.
It's the South, so we dropped a chicken.
Fantastic.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're both really excited to have you on. John and I were talking beforehand, and you are actually the first physician to come on the show. So this is quite an honor.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, so we've had on the past, we've had some APPs, we've had some financial folks, tech folks, everybody who's come from the healthcare space. This is a little bit interesting of episode though, because you are still practicing full tilt in your field, but it's a little bit different than the others because you are kind of making your name for yourself across social media. So we want to talk a little bit about that. We want to talk a bit about why you even got into neurosurgery and talk a little bit about some interest outside of what you're doing inside the surgical centers that you're a part of right now. So I'm curious. I've gone through your TikToks, and it's funny. I mentioned to one of my colleagues, I said, "Oh yeah, we're having somebody on tonight. I'm not going to mention who it is, but they're a neurosurgeon." She goes, "Oh my God, is it Betsy Grunch?" And I said, "Well," she's like, "The one with the cars." I said, "Yeah." She's like, "I don't know the car." I said, "Yeah, I got to go. I got to talk to Dr. Grunch in a few minutes." So why don't you tell us a little bit about what got you into neurosurgery? Because that isn't something that usually people just pick out of a hat, especially when they're young.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's not something that is for the weak, but I kind of thought I might want to do spine surgery when I was young. I mean, we're all have big dreams growing up, but for me, actually, I kind of started out wanted to be, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to be, honestly. My mom was a police officer and I just thought she was like super cool. And I really, obviously, just like any young girl, just really admired my mom. And so I thought maybe, hey, I want to be a cop. And then right before I started, it was right before I started high school, my freshman year, she was in a car accident. And on the job as a police officer, a gang member kind of shot at her patrol vehicle, and she ran off the road and hit a tree and was paralyzed and had a spinal cord injury. So that was pretty devastating for us as a family, obviously for her. And she went through an extensive, surgery, rehab for about a year, really, and just kind of really changed everything about our family. So I started thinking, why couldn't she walk, and like, why can't she move her arms? And I think that's stupid that she can't walk again. So I think that I'm going to figure out how we can fix this. So I wanted to become a spine surgeon at that time, or I thought I wanted to become a spine surgeon. So I actually started shadowing her neurosurgeon in high school. And really, and at that time, like, it was in the 90s, you could pretty much do anything. So I got to go in the OR, and I got to like...
It was before HIPAA even, right? Was it before 96?
Right. Like there wasn't... That's right. It was back in the golden ages. We used DOS. We entered all the medical records in DOS. Yeah, right. So anyway, I just thought it was cool. So I was like, all right, I am going to be a doctor. So that's kind of how it started. And lo and behold, I actually went through the entire 16-year journey, and here I am. So yeah.
When I talk to students and others who are looking for some sort of a transition out of where they are, or maybe to get more information where they want to go, I tell them, go ask somebody to show you. Go ask for help. Go ask for opinions. Most people who are in their later on in their career, they want to give back to people because they had the same thing happen to them. So can you tell me, do you remember what that conversation was like when you were trying to shadow, and didn't you work with him a little bit doing some data entry stuff or something like that? You worked. Yes. So how did that conversation go trying to work and understand neurosurgery a bit more?
Well, and I was looking for like summer jobs and stuff like that. And so I wanted to work in his office, and they were transitioning to, I won't even call it electronic medical records because that's just not even fair. But we were entering in some of the old records into transferring from paper charts to this DOS system. So he needed some help in his office. So I helped him with that. And he knew that I had an interest in it. And he actually had kids my age. So he's just a great kind of fatherly figure, and kind of took me in and would show me anything I had questions about. Very supportive. He's just an all around good human being. And so never really demeaning or like, oh, like don't want to do this or anything. Always supportive. So I think that initial like contact was really great, and really kind of helped push me toward wanting to do that. And then after I went through college, I came back to their practice. In between, my mom got really sick right before I went to medical school, and I took a deferment of my admission, and so I worked with his practice again under a different physician, and same thing, just very supportive environment. And I really got to do a lot more at that time, and so I think just those initial contacts is really important to young people that are trying to pursue their dream, to really want to do something. Somebody that's really encouraging is just very very positive. So
I remember when I first got into pharmacy school, they asked everybody who had worked in a pharmacy already, whether health systems, outpatient, wherever. Not even 50% of the students raised their hand. I thought that was nuts, that people would just go and step into a field. But I guess it's not really that uncommon. I'm guessing PA's school was kind of similar in that it offers a little bit higher amount of pay, some prestige, but not having to go to so many years of school or in residency or in fellowship. So it's kind of the in between. But I can't imagine anybody going into neurosurgery without understanding what they're going into first. I won't have you dox anybody's name in your class, though, in your graduating class.
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's just, I was just going to say, it's kind of hard to get all through all the steps to get there
Yeah.
and match into it without really having experience. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that think I have so many, on a daily basis. I bet I get like at least 10 direct messages on Instagram from high school students that say, "Hey, I want to be a neurosurgeon. Can you help me?" And I wish I could answer to every single one, but yeah, I mean, like everybody thinks that they want to do something, but I think, to your point, like you really kind of have to understand what you're doing in any field to really get a good idea of if that's really what you want to do long term.
So that's actually going to be my question. So you stole my thunder a little bit. If we were to say, for any aspiring surgeons or really anyone in healthcare that is maybe wanting to pursue a very specific path, I think one of the coolest things about your story is at such a young age, you knew exactly what you wanted to do. And that's so unusual. I mean, I don't think there's many people that we've come across that have had such a defined plan and then were able to carry it out so successfully. So what advice would you have if we were able to distill it down into just a key couple things? What advice would you have for someone who wants to become a neurosurgeon or more broadly just wants a specific path in medicine?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always, I think you really have to kind of get some type of experience to really understand what you think that you want to do in medicine. And healthcare is such a great, way of really changing people's lives and helping people, although how cliche that sounds, but it's true. And no matter what aspect that leads you, whether it be, actually operating on someone's brain, or if you are like down in like, I don't know, in the sterilization processing unit, sterilizing those instruments, that's all portions of healthcare. And there's so many fields in healthcare that really things can take you depending on your interest. And so I just really encourage people to get exposure so you know what you like and you don't like, because you think that you might like something and you're like, what if you find out that you like get faint at the sight of blood? Well, like probably surgery isn't going to like be the best thing for you, but there are just so many ways. I think there's so many like very small niches in healthcare too that just a lot of people don't know. And the more you can get involved early to get exposure to some of those fields, you can kind of try to feel what you want, what you may want to do and be, moldable. I mean, like there were many times along my path that I wasn't sure this is actually what I was going to do. And so just because I said it at 13 and now doing it doesn't mean that pretty much along the way it was all the same plan, but I still kept my mind open to make sure I was going to be happy, because that's the long-term goal, is to be happy in your career, because it's such a large portion of your life. And if you're not happy at work, then that's just not good.
So you mentioned career happiness, and I think that's something that is a great point, because you now practice in your hometown, correct?
Yes.
At what point did you make that decision to return to your hometown? Was that always part of the plan? Because I assume as a neurosurgeon, you could have done things that were maybe more lucrative in bigger cities. But it sounds like a big part of your happiness is also probably being in the community that you grew up in. So can you comment a little bit on that decision-making or how that path brought you full circle back to where you grew up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I even thought like throughout finishing my residency, I thought there was absolutely no way I'm going back to Gainesville, Georgia, because it's a small town. But at the end of my residency, I got married, and my husband and I both wanted to move back to the Atlanta area because my family was there. He had a lot of friends in the area, and we were trying to figure out where we wanted to go. So we decided that we were going to come to the Atlanta area. So then I continued to explore all the options in there, and it just made sense to come back to Gainesville because that's such a great kind of relationship with that practice. I knew the physicians; they're all excellent. And then, we thought that we were going to have a family, and having, having support system right there. It just made sense. So I'd actually, didn't decide that until like 1 year before I graduated residency. So if you would have asked me that at the beginning, I'd be like, there's no way. But
that's awesome. I live 10 doors down from my parents, so I totally get it. It's a wonderful thing. My kids ride their bikes down to their grandparents' house, and just having that community is amazing.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah, it really is.
I'd love to talk about TikTok, because that's obviously where most people know you and recognize you. Tell me a little bit about how you did that, because it's a very unusual career path for a physician to be a TikTok star.
I still think it's weird when people say that. It cracks me up. But that wasn't like the end goal when I started using TikTok. And I think as a physician using social media initially, I thought I'd always use social media personally, but professionally just kind of kept it very professional, educational, not even using the platform a lot, honestly, because I didn't really know how to use it. And I started following some physicians on Instagram. Mostly, I've never really used the TikTok app to just post some stuff about spine stuff, mostly for my patients. I had like 500 followers or something. So I decided I was going to make a reel, and it was like right when, I don't know, I downloaded the TikTok app because my husband was like, he had used it for like years. And I was like, all right, fine. So I found this one trend. I'm like, oh, I have a great idea. I'm going to make a reel. And I tried to do it on Instagram, and it was really just kind of painful. So I downloaded the TikTok app and I filmed it in the TikTok app. And then I like posted it and then shared it into reels. And it just went viral on TikTok. And it was like one of my first posts.
Your first post. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, it was like my first post as being a physician. I'd used it like for my kids and like made some stupid videos with my dogs, but nothing like that. And so it just took off, and I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. And then I started getting just very supportive comments initially. I mean, that's nice always on TikTok because there's so many trolls out there. But I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. There was, the young women kind of being inspired by that post. And so then I just started doing a little bit more, and I'm like, wow, this is really kind of something that no one else is doing. And I felt like I was reaching kind of like a group of women that needed, I hate to say mentorship because it's not like a mentoring, but just to see that, hey, you can be a surgeon and a mom and be out there and just, be yourself. And so that's kind of how it started. And then it just grew from there, and then it's rapidly grown from there. So
at what point did you realize that this was going to be a really big deal? Was it pretty early on in the process, or did it take a little bit of time, even if the first post went viral, before you realized, okay, this is something that I should probably invest more of my time into?
Well, I think that was like in September of 2021 is whenever I first posted it. And I thought, okay, well, this is reaching kind of the group or whatever. And so I was just doing some research on social media, and I'm at that point in my career where I'm pretty, I won't say bored, but things are just the same. It's just, I'm doing the same thing. I feel like I'm very proficient at what I do. And I guess I just wanted some other outlet. And so I used that as that. And then I read, okay, all right, if you post a couple times a day, you can kind of grow your social media following. So I was like, all right, I'm going to dedicate the next 2 months to posting every single day. Let's see what happens. So yeah. And then I got like, within a couple of months, I had like 200,000 followers. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then by that time it's kind of like, I don't know, it was just a train that can't stop. It was no brakes. So I'm like, all right, well, I just can't just stop right now because all these people like follow me. So I feel like I'm letting them down. And it's just kind of grown from there. And it's patients love it. Definitely have done some things that I maybe wouldn't have done again. Gotten in trouble for some posts. But we live and learn.
Can I ask you about one of them? You were scrubbing into a surgery on one of your pinned TikToks, and it was something about when you wake up and you look, and that was such a bad butt TikTok. It was like I was the only thought I had was like I would do that. I wonder if anybody had anything to say about that one, but. Really, like you said, this is reaching different people, a different generation, and it's a new form of, educational center, marketing center, everything. What do you foresee social media How do you see social media affecting healthcare for providers and patients? Do you have anything that you want to do or you think you could do that we're missing out on as
100%.
providers?
Yeah. I feel like my platform is a little diverse because I feel like it's an outlet for me to teach. And that's not just, I kind of break it down on a level of like to teach, like really like my patients, like just basic people about back stuff. Cause I feel like back surgery and spine and like, has a bad reputation. Like, oh, don't ever go get back surgery. So I felt like it was kind of an outlet for that. But then it's also like I can reach out to other healthcare professionals on like an inspiring level. And then there's all these different ways of doing it. But, the bottom line is that social media is here to stay. People love being on it. Even every healthcare provider that I know, when they're sitting in the doctor's lounge, they're on their phones. And so it's a way to really reach people and kind of educate and show them different ways. And I think that any physician or healthcare kind of group, really is just kind of behind the eight ball by not utilizing that as their own platform to get across their thoughts and the way we want to influence our next generation of future healthcare providers too. And I think it's so important to reach those groups of kids. Like I didn't have that when I was young because there was no such thing. But it's just so cool to be able to reach all these young developing minds and show them what we do so they can get this experience without having to, go and shadow people or really, they can get on and see what a general surgeon, a vascular surgeon, a nurse, a scrub tech does like in like 10 minutes. They can watch like 25 videos. So it's just it's pretty cool how the reach is on there. So
I think that's what's so incredible about it is there seems to be a small group, including yourself and other healthcare professionals that are not just on TikTok doing dances or, doing funny things in scrubs, or it's really an educationally focused channel or content. And it's incredible for exactly what you said is it's so accessible for people, whether it be someone who's maybe interested in that field, for a patient who's wanting to learn more, or just even as a healthcare professional. The ability to pull it out and say, okay, I want to learn about this case. Your case study videos are fantastic in that manner.
Yeah.
And I think so much of healthcare is behind the ball because this is such a powerful medium that is really just, we're scratching the surface in what can be done in terms of medical education. So it really is exciting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And like, I've had I had a PA last week message me and he's like, he's in I think in primary care. And he was like, I watched her video on Bertolotti syndrome. And I wanted you to know that because I watched her video, I diagnosed this patient who was having back pain and led her in the right direction. And that would have been something he would have never have learned about before. So I thought that was pretty cool. So.
That's amazing. That's got to make it all worth it.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel pressure? I know Sure. I've talked to some other social media influencers in the past, and as you said earlier, the need to record multiple times per day and this constant pressure to put out content. Has TikTok been a blessing, but also a curse, or is it something where generally you feel pretty good about having to put stuff out, even if there is a little bit of that pressure?
Yeah, I started, I go through these waves, and I think everybody that's on social media goes through those waves. You're like feeling it. You're like really feeling good about your content. You're making progress. And then some days you're just like complete mental block. And it's just like, I don't feel like doing anything. I don't have anything good to do. And, or then you feel pressure like, oh, God, I haven't posted today. I got to figure out something to do. So you do something really, just to put something out there. And so I try to get away from that a lot because I think that just people can kind of see through that some. And so I try to like structure, my days. And so have some like kind of, I hate to say canned content, but things I've kind of put on the burner for like a lazy day or whatever, or like comments that I can like take 2 minutes to reply to and just be a voice recording. And I try to do it. I try to do it that way. And then, you guys, if you've seen my videos, I use my staff a lot too, because it's fun. It's like a team building thing and they really enjoy it too, for the most part.
Voluntold.
And, right. They tell me that way.
when we started the podcast, we weren't at least I wasn't thinking in this realm. I was thinking more of, there's a lot of boring content out there for healthcare education or even just professional podcasts. Anything out there is more dry than exciting. And Mike and I were like, let's do something a little bit different. Let's bring a little bit of life to the death out there that is medical podcasts. But now it's turning into a little bit more. We love educating. We love networking and helping other people get to where they want to be, and just opening the eyes of those who might have not looked any deeper than a TikTok or a podcast. So when you first started off, though, were you thinking in that, were you in that headspace? Because I know you said you like social media. It was always kind of an important thing. But off the bat, was that kind of the goal? Or did you were just like, this seems like it could be fun? And then it transformed into...
I think it's still molding. Like, I think at first I was like, well, this is fun. And then, you know, there's different areas that you kind of take off on. And you're like, well, wow, there's not really anybody that's in my field, neurosurgery, that's even on TikTok. There's a few. But, you know, there's nobody that really is. I'm a fairly normal person, but everybody has this stiff, rigid, like, thoughts of what a neurosurgeon is. And, like, honestly, I've been in residency. I've been around a ton of neurosurgeons. Not everybody's like that. There are fun people like us. And I just I wanted to kind of show, like, hey, you can still be, like, fun and, like, be a surgeon too. And we have personalities. We're not all just kind of, you know, stone cold. Residency does suck most of that out of us, but you know, you can have a personality and you can still do the things that you want to do. And so, yeah, so that's kind of how it took off. And anyway, I'm still learning different ways of doing things and things that maybe I should not do or whatever. So, and then more followers that grow, you know, you kind of learn which areas are going to spice up the comment section. And so maybe that's not the best idea. So, yeah.
Has TikTok success led to you dialing back clinically at all? Or is it something where you're still burning the candle at both ends?
Oh, burning the candle at both ends. It's even worse. I think my PAs are like, oh my God, we've got a patient that's here from TikTok again. I'm like, I'm sorry. No, it's actually grown. I mean, it's grown my practice, and I don't even need to grow. So it's been I think at some point, I don't know, it's definitely lit things under a fire that I didn't even think I had left. So we'll see. I do everything myself. I have nobody that helps me, but I'm actually looking into one of my good friends trying to help me somewhat, because it's just gotten to a point where it's just like, it grows. I don't know how anyone could sustain. I'm trying to sustain a overtime 60, 70 hour week job, and then doing this full time with this many followers is getting kind of out of control. So
it is funny, because when I first looked on LinkedIn, or not even LinkedIn, back in the day, I don't even know what, monster.com, there used to be social media management like postings. I was thinking, how stupid. Like, how could you spend 40 hours a week managing this? And now Mike and I'm begging my wife, can you answer some emails for me? She's like, no. Well, when you get to the point where you have a following, as you do, like you said, being a normal person, you end up having some sort of, it's like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. You have some leverage and you can do things with it. And it's like, what do I do? How do I not squander this? And how do I make sure that I stay happy and not really get myself in a position where people demand me to be in this position?
Right.
So I assume, you know, we don't need any specifics, but I assume TikTok has now reached a point where you are generating revenue. And I think this is such a cool thing where if people are looking at non-clinical career options, there's so many different things that can be done if you just think creatively outside of the box. So if someone is watching this or listening to this and they think, you know what, I'm, you know, maybe feeling burned out of clinical medicine, or even just looking to have a side hustle like you're doing, what would be your advice? Not necessarily specific to TikTok, but just someone who's looking to do some sort of creative entrepreneurial side hustle. Do you have any thoughts or advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, so fun fact, this is what I think is, I don't know how people make a lot of money off of TikTok because I don't make any money.
No way.
Yeah, so
That's shocking.
they have the creator fund or whatever, and I was joining, but I don't know. This may just be my experience, but when I was in the creator fund, I felt like my views were limited and I wasn't getting, I mean, like I was making like 20 or $60 a week. Like it wasn't a lot. And then I was like, well, I'm going to opt out. And all of a sudden my views went up and I'm like, okay. So for the business model, TikTok, if they're paying you for your views, why would they put your videos out there so they pay you more? So I've opted in and out multiple times, but I just opted out because I feel like, for the, I don't know, 100, $200 a week I might make, it's really not worth the platform that I'm trying to be on. And I don't.
That's not good money for a neurosurgeon?
Yeah. And I'll just leave that there. But I just think that I don't want to second guess that my platform is being limited because I'm getting paid. So I know there's other platforms that somewhat pay, I guess, but I'm trying to grow my YouTube following. I've not quite mastered how to get paid as a social media person. So I've heard that, what do you call it? Deals that you can make, sponsorship deals and all that. The only thing I've gotten out of any sponsorship deals is a few pairs of socks and like a few pairs of scrubs. So I would not do this.
We got to remedy this.
If I were to get hit by a train tomorrow and lose my arm, I would be very sad because I wouldn't even be able to pay for my kids' school with my social media payment.
Wow. I'm actually shocked. Just, I think when I was looking before we came on, it was something like 32 million likes. So I would assume that if you're having that many likes, your views are exponentially higher.
Yeah.
That blows my mind that TikTok is so stingy with the monetization.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. I don't.
Wow.
I mean, I think if I might make a couple $100 if I opted back in, but I don't know. I'm good.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think what we're recognizing now too, with having a different environment to educate and to share these ideas, is it's effective. People want to be a part of it. You have a niche group of people potentially that want to look into surgical residencies or even high school students. Somebody wants to use the information that you have, and you're willingly giving it to. You want people to grow. And I think that's the first step in making sure that we're using these platforms to stay happy, to help others, and maybe make $200 a week. So I'm going to start a marketing management group. And Dr. Grunch, you can be my first client. Here, I'm going to send you an email right now.
I will say I'm even more impressed if this is all just for altruism. That's really quite amazing.
Yep. I mean,
our editor can cut this or leave it, but my goodness, just off the top of my head, like I would go after the device manufacturers and try and get some non-restricted educational grants, because what you're doing is medical education. And like I do a lot of pharmaceutical consulting, and I remember I did a program once and they paid $100,000 to have 300 attendees. I did not see, that $100,000. I saw a very, very small slice of that, but the amount of money they spend for education is just mind-blowing. And in the device world, it's like the Wild West because you don't have pharma code. So I would imagine with some creative thinking, there's got to be, someone out there, Stryker, if you're listening, give us a call because Dr. Grunch needs to get paid.
Take a slide of my DMs. Come on.
So, John, do you want to switch over? Maybe we can do some personal topics and then wrap things up.
Yeah, let's talk about what we're doing in our lives here. So we always take a segment of the episode to talk about something we're reading, drinking, watching, doing, anything that takes us away from sometimes the mundane life, repetitive life of being in clinic or whatever work we're doing. So I will start off today. Mike usually takes my ideas. If you take my idea this time, Mike,
I'm going to probably.
You're sitting in timeout.
Unless it's audiobooks or lawn mowing, then I won't take it.
I got to stop talking about my audiobooks. So I'm going to actually talk about a drink today. So I grew up watching John Wayne. I didn't understand why they always left the bottle and made that face afterwards. I found out soon enough, but this is not one of those drinks. It's not really what you would call Marlboro Man pioneer type drink. It's but I love it. My wife loves it. It's called Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's 50% rum chata and 50% Fireball. But you can also substitute Fireball for Kahlua, and then it's called cinnamon. What's it called? The cinnamon swirl cake thingy. Cinnamon bun. It's called the cinnamon bun.
Cinnabon.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, and I'm telling you, it is one of the tastiest cocktails for the holiday, and it's cheap, easy. It's 1-to-1. That is it. And you will send me a text or email thanking me after this one. I promise you. So go ahead, take that. I don't think you need an explanation on this podcast when we talk about alcohol, because it's done with moderation and responsibility. Isn't that right, folks?
Of course.
That's right.
So my personal light item is this week we somewhat spontaneously, I won't call it impulsive, but we just got 2 kittens. So our dog is 10 years old, and my wife and I are both PAs, and we live a very, busy, hectic, chaotic life, although nothing like Dr. Grunch over here. So as the dog is getting older, we wanted cats because I think they're a little bit more conducive to being able to just go away for a weekend and not have to worry about them or board them. So we've got 2 cats, and this is their second day at home, and they're finally starting to acclimate and wander around the house and be a little bit friendly. And I am not a cat person, and I'm already fallen in love with them. So I'm next episode, I'm going to be the cat guy, apparently.
Listen, I grew up with dogs, and I know that you said you had dogs too, right? You said they're going to go nuts in the house.
I have 2 dogs. Yeah.
You have 2 dogs. Okay, I've got a newfie. I grew up with labs. And we got cats last year when we moved to this 200-year-old farmhouse because we wanted them to take care of the rodents. I did not like cats growing up. My dad instilled that into us to really dislike them. It's genetic, I think, for Irish people, because rats and stuff in Ireland, they didn't do their job there. So, but I became a cat. I love the cats. They're really cool. And so I'm not going to knock you for this, Mike. I'm actually going to agree with you on this one.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. Okay. Well, Dr. Grunch, if you have one, hopefully we gave you enough time, since we always like to put our guests on the spot. But do you have a personal light item to maybe maintain our humanity in the all-consuming world of healthcare?
Oh, yeah. I can tell a fun story about my kids and how kids really have no filters and speak truth. But my son is 7, and he is just hilarious. But we went to a birthday party this past weekend, and of course, I'm like sitting there on my phone, like editing videos while they're running around, like playing around in this big kids museum or whatever. And so we're getting ready to leave. My daughter's like had enough. She's 4. And my son looks at me and he says, "Mom, I need to find the kid's name's Dad." And I was like, "Oh, he's standing over there. You can go ask him whatever you want." I'm like, I don't know what he's going to ask him. It's probably thank you or something, because he's really sweet. So he's like, okay. And then I'm like, see him disappear, and I see the dad talking to my son, and then I see him point to the mom. And I was like, oh, okay. So he's telling him to go over to the mom. So the mom is kind of closer to me. So I overhear what he asks, and he's like, calling them out because they don't have any gift bags.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh God, Riley, and she's like, well, I'm 36 weeks pregnant, and I just didn't want to give you a bunch of crap, basically, that you'd go home throw away. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, Riley. We can go just get a toy. And he's like, oh, you're pregnant? And she's like, yeah, I'm having my 3rd boy. And he looked at her and he said, that must be a lot of sperm. And I was like,
oh, yes.
Yes.
And we're done.
Oh my goodness.
And we're done.
Wow. Amazing.
Dr. Grunch, can I add to that one? Because this goes right with it. I think it's
Yes.
I think you'll find it funny.
Yes.
I've got 4 boys.
I'm actually scared of where this is going. So
So they, you know how the first year in school, they have you go around the school with your kid and kind of acclimated to what it looks like. And it was just my wife and just my son walking around with their teacher, and she's explaining the classrooms. Out of nowhere, he says, he's 6 at this point. Out of nowhere, he says, "My parents make me go to bed so they can watch adult movies." My wife was like,
No.
"Rated R movies, not like." And of course, I'm sure that teacher was convinced at my wife's explanation. But
Yeah, that's perfect.
Kids.
I love it.
Too much HBO. Yeah. Well, Dr. Grunch, thank you so much for coming on. This really was so much fun. And I love this. On White Coats, we talk about non-clinical or non-traditional careers. And obviously, you've done that in a very interesting, unique way. But it was really exciting and wonderful to get to know you and hear your story. I hope that, people can find you on TikTok, obviously, but also on LinkedIn. And it sounds like on Instagram as well. Any other platforms?
Facebook and YouTube too. Yeah. But I pretty much post similar stuff amongst the platforms. So ladies find Doc on all platforms, pretty much.
Find Dr. Grunch on the platform that will allow her to make money.
That's right.
Peloton.com.
Peloton. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. So once again, this is Mike Asbeck and John McDonald, and we are here with Dr. Betsy Grunch. If you like the podcast, make sure to give us a listen, a follow, and a review. If you don't like the podcast, then definitely don't review us. But otherwise, we'll talk to you guys next time. Have a great one, guys.
Love ya.
Oh, boy.